Shout out to all those who are watching and listening. Welcome to the broadcast. I'm Dr. Kesha, your host. Sis, let's talk. Let's talk about it. That's what this whole thing is about. We need to have the conversation. So, where are the single ladies at? Listen, we're trying to rally up the troops. So, give me a moment. I just want to invite a few more people and we're going to go ahead and get the party started. But be more than welcome to go ahead and make a comment. Tell me where you're tuning in from, where you're watching, your name, and all that jazz. Let's use our manners. Let's greet one another. Hi, how you doing? Okay, let's do that too, so that I know that somebody is benefiting from this conversation. So I am sharing to my platforms, and so you are definitely welcome to do the same. Don't forget to like this because we need somebody. You may not need this information, but maybe somebody in your circle group and all your sister friends, maybe they need the information. So go ahead and tag somebody, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Shout out to the YouTube page. Shout out to the Dr. Kesha page. Shout out to my personal page. Shout out to all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like I forestated, I wanted to do something special for women. All right. This is Women's History Month. And I wanted to do something special since I'm in the lane, of relationships, in terms of coaching and counseling and motivational speaking and all of that jazz. And also authored a book, it's called Celibacy in the City. I'm going to promote it in just a moment. But I feel like since I'm in this space, I definitely should take advantage of this momentum in the season that we're in, where we're featuring women and speak to women. I wanted to have a private session, but it is what it is. I think I would gain more by going public because I do have multiple platforms and people are watching. As a matter of fact, I probably need to share. Let me go to my YouTube now and go ahead and share it on X because people are watching and we want people to get in on this conversation. It's going to be a little bit, I don't know. Some people may say contemporary, but I definitely feel like that we definitely need to have the conversation. But it's going to come from a good place because one of the great things about I'm about to come on camera in just a moment. Just let me do the sharing and all that so that I can focus on you. I promise. I'm a go on camera in just a moment. I know it's been a while, but yeah, I'm coming on, y'all. Y'all gonna see me in just a moment. Just a momenta, just a momenta. All right, so let me just find all these pages, child, and accounts and all right, I just want to get to the live so that I can share it. Okay, let me make sure. Where am I sharing this to? Okay, there it is. It's not showing. There you are. There you are. All right, so now I see my live on YouTube. I'm going to share it on X. Let's invite the community. Yeah, sis, we need to talk. So come on in. Come on in the room. We don't have a lot of time. We want to maximize our time. All right. Okay, so I think that's all the places that I want to share for now. And yeah, so I'm gonna remove that out the way, and I'm gonna come on camera. Ta-da! How y'all doing? Y'all doing good? Look, this is the same woman that's in the pictures. I know. It's been a minute. I know. Back to business, back to business. And shout out to all the chat and tea listeners during 2020. We was doing this, going live, having the conversations, having events. It was a good time. So kind of miss those days. I don't miss the COVID, child, but I do miss coming on as frequent. I mean, I was coming on on a regular. I mean, like often. I think I come on all the time now. You didn't see anything until you watched those videos during COVID. We were constantly on and having the conversation. So sis, let's talk. And so hopefully I'm talking to singles right now. And prayerfully, I'm speaking to women because I really want us to have a very personal conversation. I think that we need to have it very taboo conversation. Can we have that? We can have that. I can have that. I'm okay. Are you okay? Tell me how you're feeling. Go ahead and tell me in the chat. How are you feeling today? Go ahead, tell the truth. Where are you, single ladies? Where are you emotionally? Where are you spiritually? Where are you? Where are you mentally? Where are you? Depending on your age and stage of life, you may be all kinds of places. And that's neither good nor bad. You know what I mean? But I want to speak to you. And so we're going to talk about ages and stages of singleness in just a few moments. But I do want to shout out all those that have supported us, have supported the pages, those of you that have subscribed recently. Shout out to you. Shout out to X. They're really showing up. Shout out to X. And also I want to shout my family, my friends out. I just got the book, 14 Keys to Transformational Love, to be dating, to I do and beyond. Finally got my book. Yay. So shout out to my friends, the Canards. I just ordered their book. I've had a book on it's an ebook. I should have maybe did a print book too as well, but it's called Celibacy in the City. Is also on Amazon, so you can go check that out as well. I'm going to feature that towards the end, so look for that towards the end. So let's go ahead and have the conversation, just for the sake of, for those of you all that have seen the flyer, just let me give you the breakdown of our conversation. Let me organize it. I think that'll be better that way. First and foremost, we honor God. He's good. He's the CEO of our life. But we want to talk about singleness, dating, ages and stages of dating and singleness, and marriage prep. And then we're going to have a Q&A. So if you happen to have a question, this will be a great time to ask it. You don't have to come on camera or anything unless you choose to, because I don't mind somebody coming up, and I don't mind having a real conversation, and I don't mind having a live coaching session. I love doing coaching. All right. I don't mind having a live coaching session. So if you happen to have a question, a serious question, because you're going through some things, listen, the facts don't lie, right? The data, it doesn't lie. So let's define words. I love to define words so that we all know what we're talking about, and so that we're on the same page with the conversation. All right. So I'm going to present my screen. Let me see. How about the definition of singleness? Let's start there. All right. Let's start there. Let me organize my whole screen situation. Awesome sauce. All right. So what is singleness? Let's define it. Let's have a working definition as we have the conversation. All right. So singleness is the quality or state of being single. That's all it is. It's a quality or state of being single. Now, when we click on single, it gives us further information. All right. Such as not married. All right. So even if you are in a dating situation, you are considered single still, if that makes sense. All right. You're still considered single, though you are in a relationship, but out of respect for the person that you're in a relationship with, that you are not married to, it's just a part of the culture to say, I'm not available. But technically, in terms of your status, you're still single because you're not married. Now, does that mean you should cheat on the person and not be faithful? No, because again, out of respect to the person, they should understand what time it is. They should understand what type of relationship that you do have. And we're going to go into dating and relationships in just a moment. But in terms of the word single, I think everyone needs to be clear what it is that we're going to be talking about and taking a deep dive into in terms of a working definition. Okay. So single as in not married, right? Or relating to celibacy. That can also be a term used to describe someone who is practicing abstinence. That means you're not sexually active. We're going to have the conversation, y'all. We're going to take off the gloves and we're going to go. We're going to talk, sis. Sis, let's talk. I know some brothers are going to try to peep in, and that's okay. Maybe they can gain some wisdom from this. Hey, sis, I see you. Thank you so much for tuning in and supporting me and the broadcast. Much love to you. All right. So we are providing a working definition, and that's what we're going to work with. All right. As we have the conversation. All right. So first we have not married. Does that mean that we can just go off and just rush out and disrespect people's feelings and all? No, 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 no. In all things, it doesn't matter what stage you are in life. It doesn't matter what your status is. We should operate with integrity. Okay. We are people of integrity, and we should operate. I'm speaking to my community. My community, predominantly, most of the folks that are in my community are folks that are saved folks that are in the sanctified space. Come on, somebody who is saved, amen, and they're believers in the Lord Jesus Christ. So we should be operating with integrity, all right, in everything that we do. But and however, the word single and singleness, right? Again, we talked about singleness, and then we're taking a deeper dive, right? We said the quality state of being single, and then we went deeper, as in not married or relating to celibacy. Now, it could also mean unaccompanied by others, alone, soul. All right. So, why are we having this conversation? Because I think that some people feel, for those that are single, that is your status. You're not in a relationship. You are solo, operating solo. I used to call myself K Solo. You're operating solo. You're independent. Again, it's just really focusing on you. It's about you. There's no one accompanying you. You are alone. You are single. All right, you are soul. All right, so that does not mean that you're lonely. Those are two different things. All right, so you can be happy and still not married. You can be happy and be practicing celibacy and abstinence. You can be happy, lone, or soul. All right, you can still be happy. All right, and on and on and on and on. All right, consisting of one number and etc. So generally, again, when people talk about single, when it comes to relationships, and they use that word and they say, "I'm single," thank you. Yeah, that may mean a lot to a lot of people. So when we use that term during the course of this conversation, we're just talking about people that are not necessarily in a relationship, and or I'll say a serious relationship, a committed relationship. You are soul, you are alone. You're not lonely, you're just by yourself. It's just you, you're singular. That's you, single. All right. So I want to speak to all the single ladies. I really do. I think we need to have a conversation because, yeah, I think if we get on the same page when it comes to this relationship space, I think that we'll be okay. We really will be okay. Now, I would love to poll, but I don't want to embarrass anyone because for some people during this, depending on what stage and phase you are in life, it may be embarrassing for you. Some people emotionally may feel like uncomfortable in this stage of life. I'm single. I have been single for quite some time. Maybe you've been in and out of relationships. You know what I mean? Nothing stuck in terms of, maybe you got engaged somewhere in your history, but you never followed through, or the situation didn't work out, or you were married once and now you're divorced. It really depends on where you are. So we're gonna have the conversation. So why is it important to me? You said me. Yes, yes. And it's interesting because oftentimes, yeah, depending on where you are, ages and stages of life, it's you get a bad rep for being single, depending on what age and stage you are in life. If you're of a certain age, if you're a woman of a certain age, again, I'm speaking to women, it can be a negative connotation, right? It can be a negative thing to be single for some crazy reason. But for men, it's often looked at as positive when they're single and they're of a certain age. Some people feel like if you're single, you're undesirable, like men don't want you. Lies. Would you like to take a look at the inboxes and the DMs? You know what I mean? And the phone, and would you like to see the text messages and the conversations? Because that's not true. Just because someone is single doesn't mean that they have to necessarily be single. They can choose to be in a relationship. Many of us that are single could be in a relationship and or married. Like, that's not off the table. The option has been presented. Men are pursuing, or men are expressing interest. Some of us are going out. We'll go ahead and talk about the dating aspect in just a moment. So single is not a negative thing. It is a part of life. It is a process. And when it comes to love life and relationships, so you should be okay. But what I will do is I'm going to talk to you about the real concerning singleness. I think sometimes, especially when we're of a certain age and stage of life, let's say when we're between 20 and 30 years of age, between 20 and 30, oftentimes we feel like we got time. We got time. I'm talking about as women. We got time. We got time. Society tells you go ahead and pursue what? Pursue your goals, pursue your dreams, pursue your adorations, pursue, which is cool. But we as women have to be mindful that there are limitations depending on the age and the stage that we are in. Between the ages of 20 and 30, that is a really good time to be focused on you, to be soul, to be single. It is a good time, but you have to also understand that that is the best time that there's more men per capita than women that are available. All right. So between the ages of 20, talking about the ages and stages of life in singleness, in the singlehood, all right, there are more men available than women. All right. Now we're going to talk about the progression during the course of time when we're dealing with ages and stages. So this is what happens. For those of you all that are of a certain age, like my age, or maybe a little younger, maybe a little older, you can remember when you were in your 20s, dudes was like a dime a dozen, coming, hollering, hey, baby, you can't even halfway pump your gas. What's your name? What's your number? Okay, you at the church services, they peeping you out. It's plenty of guys, plenty of options. People actually, what's her name? Her. Can I have a number? All of that's happening during that stage and age of life. You know what I mean? And again, attractiveness is relative. We come in all shapes, all sizes. Listen, I wasn't the size that I was then back what I am today. I would think I looked a little bit the same, but I've even evolved in terms of my looks. You know what I'm saying? And my appearance, I've evolved over the course of time. But saying that to say, even back then, I mean, if you consider maybe say 30 years ago, life was not as it was today. We didn't have social media like we have today. We didn't have the dating apps like we had today. We dated within our circles. We dated within our friend groups. We dated the people at the church. We dated the people at the schools. We dated folks that we work with on the job, or if we went out and about, we met people, you know what I'm saying, at the grocery store, at the gas station, because we were young, we were youthful, and we were constantly on the go. So there was a lot of options for women between the ages of 20 and 30. So if you all happen to be 20 right now, between the ages of 20 and 30, holler at your girl. Am I telling the truth? There were plenty of men available. There were plenty of fish available. Now, again, you can filter the pool and say, were there men compatible with my values, and did I like them? Was I attracted to them, or what have you? That's a whole nother conversation. But what I'm trying to say is that depending on your age and stage of life, yes, women, you should pursue your goals for sure during the ages of 20 and 30. But know this, if you opt not to settle down, if you opt not to get in a serious relationship, if you opt not to because you're going to sacrifice that part of your life, having children, being in a relationship, getting married, then after you cross over into 30 and between 30 and 40, that is the age and stage where there is the least available men. So you will find that it's difficult to find somebody that is within your age group. You will find it difficult to settle down because the men that were in their 20s, maybe 30s, they're looking back and pulling someone up, right? They're going to the younger women. And then men that are maybe in my age group, they want younger women, right? Because there's plenty of women available because there's more men pursuing after them, all right? So as you get between the ages of or become 30 and beyond, 30, between 30 and 40, there are less men available, literally statistically. You can check the stats yourself. You can go to, I used to be a numerator for the Census Bureau, went around collecting data, demographics, age, race, ethnicity, household incomes, and etc. Right? So when you understand data and you look up the facts, and this is just literally going from house to house collecting data, or if they send it in the mail or whatever the case may be, but when the government crunches the numbers, this is the statistics that they're coming with. I think they're saying that in terms of numbers between 30, again, between 30 and 40 or 30 and 34, the ratio men, it's high when you're in amongst the younger groups. And then as you get older, it's like a 20% loss of available men. All right. So what am I saying? I'm saying that women, if you've met someone, or if you like during that stage in time, now is hindsight is 2020, you know what I mean? Some of us could have been married. I got married at my first, well, I'm divorced now, but my first marriage, I got married at 29. But I'm saying to you, if you happen to be between the ages of 20 and 30, and you've met someone that is of quality, and you've met someone who was compatible, but you're meeting a whole lot of other guys too, I think you need to rethink the commitment aspect. And because tomorrow isn't promised to us, that's the one thing that I would advise. And again, this is, again, if I was to talk to my 20 something year old self, I would advise me to do things a lot differently based on the information that I have today. All right. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't pursue your goals. I'm not saying that you shouldn't get an education, because again, that's a 10-year span of time. So there's a lot that can be accomplished during that time. But what I am saying is that since women are notorious for multitasking, it's okay to do all of it. It's okay to travel and see the world. It's okay to focus. And we'll talk about marriage prep in just a moment for those that desire to be. But I really want to encourage you in that space of singleness, that it's okay to be single, regardless of what age and stage you may be in life. Okay. That does not mean that's a death sentence. It doesn't mean that you're going to be by yourself forever. And it doesn't mean that you're lonely or that you're sad and that you're pathetic. All right. It doesn't mean that. It just means that within your circle, you're not meeting quality people, or people that you believe to be suitable and comparable to you. That's just all that it means. And again, like I said, everybody has their own, type of person that they're looking for, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional, or spiritual. But don't count yourself out just yet. All right, we're going up in the ages, and we'll talk about the evolution when it comes to dating and relationships. So if you happen to be a single woman and you're between the ages of 20 and 30, don't be so dismissive to men at that age. Play your cards right. Be smart. Be a smart dater. Be intelligent. Work on your EQ. If you don't have a high emotional intelligence, work on that as a woman. Most women have more, I guess, high emotional intelligence than men, but I think you need to be aware of the fact that I think we all need to get to know how men function. I think as a woman, we're more focused on what our role is and preparing to be the best that we can be in that role as caregivers, as wives for those that want to be married one day. We kind of focus on that. We focus on trying to, again, be a caregiver, take care of our man, take care of our children, our household, and that sort of thing. And then some of us do feel like, hey, birthday girl. I see you. I see you. Happy birthday. Thank you so much for joining us. But it's okay to focus on a career if you're career oriented. But again, you have to, during that time and during that space of life, you have to get to know who you are, and you have to understand what your purpose is. And when you understand who you are and what your purpose is, you'll have a little bit more understanding when you go into that dating space of what it is that you need and what it is that you should want. Someone that would be comparable, someone that would be compatible to you. All right. And so, yes, during that stage, get to know yourself. I want to say leading up to that point. I mean, to be honest, once we hit about 18, we're still not sure exactly who we are. And so we are getting acquainted with ourselves. We've been in our parents' house, we've been abiding by their rules and regulations. We've been playing, the game, you know what I'm saying? Just kind of going along to get along. But once you get outside that house and you begin to explore life and you begin to engage in all these different relationships and all these different types of situations, you get to know who you are. And what comes along with that, you are so welcome. What comes along with that, is an evolution, because you do have your values, right? You have your core values. Those things have been placed in you. What your parents taught you that was right, morals and character. All those things should be built up. Now, again, we do have anomalies. We do have, exceptions and not the rules. There are some people that haven't been raised, and they've had to raise themselves. Yes. They've had to figure it out on their own, and they may not necessarily have the skills and the tools that they need to be in a happy, healthy relationship. Okay. Now, there are some of those, but there are also some that do. And there are some that did not have all the trauma, that some folks had to go through, and they were raised in relatively healthy homes. So getting to know yourself is, to me, the first order of business. Not necessarily opening up to a relationship long term and serious. Getting to know your likes and dislikes. When I say getting to know yourself, what does that mean? That means getting to know what you like and what you dislike. This is what I found for people that get married extremely young, that haven't gotten to that place where they've come to know who they are. What they do is they become what that person wants them to be. And then the person that is with them, especially if you haven't grown to that place where you have your own identity, you'll start to morph into what they want you to be. You'll like what they like, you'll do what they do, and then you'll do it, and it's on a subconscious level and not even realize what it is that you're doing. And then what you'll find out is later on down the line, you, even though you're in this relationship, you'll discover, I don't really particularly like that. I don't like that food. Like I'm not a fan of that. Or I don't like that type of music. Or you know what? I'm not really feeling that type of food. Or I would rather go somewhere else and hang out and have a good time. Like that's what's going to happen. And then what you'll find is, if you selected a partner or a person to be with, let's say you happen to get married and move on, if you selected them and you didn't really tap into what it is that you need and what it is that you wanted and your identity, if you didn't come into that with that knowledge, with that truth, right? You're going to choose a person not fully understanding whether this person is truly compatible with your core values. So that's why it's important during this time. This is an amazing time, whether you are newly single or whether you are currently single by age. This is a really great time to figure out what it is that you like, or see. And here's the thing, like, this is how you know when a person really doesn't have like their identity fully developed. When somebody asks you out, let's say a guy asks you out and he said, "Hey, where do you want to go?" Or "What's your favorite restaurant?" You're like, "I don't know, whatever you want to do is cool." I don't really care. I'm just, like, if this person is getting to know you, they're not just asking for the sake of asking so that you can go to a place just so that you can go and have an experience. Like, they're trying to get to know you, sis. And so, even if that's not your fave, if he decides to say, "You know what, let's go get some Mexican food or whatever, let's get some Italian, blah blah blah, let's get some, whatever, get some Chinese or whatever. I could use some steak. Don't you like steak?" You got to have some sense of knowing. Like, you got to know what it is that you like to eat. You got to know what it is that you're into in terms of hobbies. Do you have a hobby? You know what I mean? What do you like to do when you are alone and by yourself? Like, I mean, come on, where do you like to go? Have you traveled? Are you traveled? Like, those types of things you should know. And if you're getting acquainted with yourself, then that's great. You can just be honest. You don't have to necessarily, you can choose tonight, and I'll definitely choose the next time. And make sure that you do your work, and really ask yourself, well, what is it that I like? Where do I like to go? What is my sense of style? Where's my identity? Where's my voice? Because that's important, because you need to show up in relationships. And what often happens in marriages where people haven't developed their own voice and have their identity, and they don't know themselves as much, they'll grow into that relationship and they'll discover that they'll begin to grow apart, because both of them came into a relationship prematurely and they did not do their first things first, their due diligence, which is to date themselves. So this is what I say to singles. If you happen to be single, regardless of your age and stage in life, date yourself. All right. Try new things. Do something outside of the box. Don't be awkward in spaces that you are solo. All right. Don't be awkward in those spaces. Go and enjoy. Go and sit down in a restaurant. Date yourself. Uh, Go to a movie by yourself. Watch film, whatever, entertainment, whatever. Figure out what it is that you're into. If you're athletic, if you're not, what type of food you like, whatever. Get to know that. What type of books do you read? Like, you know what I mean? Go ahead and figure that out, because when you're getting to know someone, you're going to have to, "Hey, sis, God bless you. Hey, good to see you. I'll be watching you. I'm watching you. Praise God for you." But yeah, it's important that you get to know you. So while you're single, doesn't matter what age and stage you are in life, get to know you. I miss you too, sis. I really do. And we got to reconnect. We really do. You have to get to know you. I feel like you'll do yourself a disservice if you move in that relationship space and that dating space and you haven't taken the real, I'm talking about true time to really get acquainted with you. You are so welcome. I thank God for you. I do, and all that you do. Follow Stacy Holton. Really good alopecia campaign nonprofit. But God is good. Listen, I can't even stress that enough. So during this stage of life, during your singleness, whether you're newly single or whether you are currently within that age that I'm focusing on, where there's plenty of men, all right, get to know you first before you go into that relationship space and really go out there and experiment. Now, experimentation does not mean we spread it. What is it? Spread it wide, drop it low, and spread it wide. No, we don't. That's not experimentation in dating as believers. We don't date like that. We date for social reasons. We're going to define the word dating in just a moment. We date for social purposes, and we also date for romantic purposes. So, relationships, or I want to say dating, is twofold. It's twofold. All right. Dating by definition is a social or romantic appointment or engagement. That's it. So when someone says I'm just dating, it can just simply I'm just being social. Okay. Now I think before you said spread eagle. Okay, listen here. Don't do that. Don't do that. We're not encouraging that. We're not encouraging that. No, 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 no. No, sis, please don't. Respect yourself, please. Honor yourself. Love yourself, please. We're gonna go into that in just a moment. Lord have mercy. But in the dating space, it's twofold. It's for social purposes. This is my thumb, my Arsenio Hall thumb. It's for social purposes. All right. And it's also for romantic purposes. So that's why you'll hear, this phrase amongst couples, amongst married couples, we do our date night, because you should continue to engage in dating even after you get into a commitment and after you get married. You should still have that romantic appointment and engagement in and throughout the marriage, right? But for single people, just because you're dating does not mean that you're in a relationship with that person. You're trying to figure it out. I think it was RC, what is his name? I shared a lot of his content. RC Blakes talks about, he defined dating as in collecting data, the time to collect data. Now, during that dating phase, if it's for social purposes, this is your assignment. You're always supposed to use your mind in all these things, not your emotions, not your flesh. Let your mind be intellectual when it comes to this process. There's two things that you're supposed to figure out while you're dating and engaging in these social experiments. All right. You're gathering data. Okay. You're trying to figure out who you are in these spaces. So who am I when I'm around a different type of guy, or this guy in particular? Am I more feminine? Am I tapping in more into my feminine energy? You know what I mean? Or am I more masculine in that situation with that particular person? Why am I trying to figure that out? Because let me tell you something. A man that is really truly for you, and I'm speaking to our sister, sis, let's keep it real. A man that's really truly for you will bring out your femininity, not match your energy. No. There is a yin yang. So while you're dating, you're trying to figure out, the type of guy who's suitable for me in terms of a type of guy. So as I'm engaging in this social experiment, while I'm going out just collecting data, trying to figure out who I am, trying to figure out who he is, and getting to know the mind of a man. That's also the second one. You know what I'm saying? In terms of your assignment, when you're engaging in a dating situation, in a social experiment, you're getting to know who you are as a woman. And you're also getting to understand the mind of a man. You're trying to get hip on the game, because guess what? Everybody plays games, y'all. Let's be real. Yes, use your mind, not your emotions, not your body, not your hip, lips, and fingertips. Yes, yes. Everybody plays a game, because until you win, until you figure it out, until you land your person, that's exactly what it is. All right. And so that's why I say don't get all emotionally tangled. You know what I'm saying? Keep emotions out of it until you figure out if this person is emotionally safe or not. You know what I mean? I think sometimes we are so wanting to be that we just throw all caution to the wind. And we are literally, from the moment he asks us out, we're plotting our whole life together. Okay, what my wedding color is gonna be. Okay, what kind of dress do I want? What kind of design do I want? Okay, what honeymoon? Where are we gonna go for our honeymoon spot? Like you go, yo, slow it down, sis. Okay, it's twofold. You're getting to know yourself and you're getting hip to the game. You're getting to understand the mind of a man. And this is for social purposes, because you don't even know this guy. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not saying that since we are, most of us, my audience, we're spiritual people. My audience, we love God. You know what I'm saying? Now, I know there are some people that may be tuning in that are not God lovers, and that's cool. You can still get hip to the game. All right, let's be clear. But I'm talking to people that are saved. You know what I'm saying? And so therefore we cannot move in that space. We have to tap into the spirit of the living God, and also our intellect. Please, 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 right? Everybody playing games. Absolutely. Because you are literally, it's your representative. It's your best version of yourself. That's how you showing up. You showing up covering your blemishes. Come on, somebody. You may add a piece or two. Come on, somebody. Right? You accentuate yourself. You wearing your best gear. You know, you're smelling yourself. You're not listening. You're smelling good. You're not coming in stanky and funky. That's a part of you too. Okay, your head is shedding. Okay, you may have a blemish or two. That's a part of you too. So I'm not saying that you're coming in fake and phony, but what I am saying that when people go on these dates, they're really presenting the best version of themselves. Okay, let's just be honest and let's keep it real. So even the person that you're seeing before you, if this is the best representation, you got to ask yourself if this is the best that he can present, and you're not feeling it, then it's just not a match. You know what I'm saying? It's just not a match. I'm loving these comments. Right. I love God real bad. Exactly. You know, you a God lover. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. Listen, so you move differently in those spaces because you are considering God in everything that you do, and you're also representing him in the earth. So when you're going on these social experiments, I like to call them AKA dates. All right, this is not for romance. It's for, okay, I'm getting to know me. You know, I'm getting a sense of what it is, you know, that I like or dislike or what I'm into. And I'm also getting to acquainted with the mind of a man and how he moves and whether I'm feeling that or not. This person in particular, this type of dude, you know what I mean? Personality. Am I feeling this personality or no? But I will say that during that time that you are with this person, you are picking up on several things. You are trying to determine whether there is an ebb or flow. You know what I'm saying? Whether this person is a good communicator. And if you're a person that doesn't talk as much, is this person bringing out the best in you? If you are introverted and maybe you're, you know, a little bit, you know, once bitten, twice shy, you're very careful and, you know, you process before you speak, and that's cool. Is the person patient with you? You know what I mean? Are they willing to help to bring out the best in you? You know what I mean? Are they leading in that situation? Not dominating or controlling, but are they leading? Are they a good leader? Someone once told me this. This was a former leader of mine, and this was some good stuff. And I really wish I would have, you know, pulled that out when necessary. He says, as women, like we're when we're to the point where we're really beginning to now interview and really consider someone as the head of the house, as our husbands and such, we are interviewing for somebody to be in control of us. We're interviewing our future leaders. You know what I mean? We're interviewing our future CEO. So, like, if this person is not a good leader of their own life and they're really poor with leading you in a dating space, then what is that going to translate in a day to day? You know what I mean? And that doesn't mean they can't grow and that sort of thing. You're looking at what is being presented and you are making an intellectual decision based on that information. And of course, you can have the God factor, because yes, he may be immature in that moment, in that time, in that space of time, and then he may mature later. So that may, God may say, okay, I know what you're seeing. Don't allow your eyes to, and the information that you're gathering from this conversation, to help you make your decision. This is your husband, and so therefore you're going to play a role in his maturation process, if you will. You're going to play a role as a woman, because we're helpers. In our DNA, we are women. God has put it's in our code to be a helper. We can take literally nothing, and then we can make it something. Okay, that is the artistry of a woman. All right, and a good one really can multiply stuff. All right, a good woman can really do the thing. All right, and so, and you got to understand, hey sis, I love you, thank you so much for tuning in. You got to understand what caliber of woman you are. So when you're going in these dating spaces, and you're being a participant of these social experiments, you got to understand the caliber of a female and a woman that you are. See, that's the thing about getting to know you. What caliber of woman are you? Stacy, listen, Willa, come on here. Come on, Paula, huh? Cheryl, what caliber of woman? You got to know that coming in. So that's why I say you really got to get to know, depending on what age and stage you are in life, you got to know who you are intellectually, mentally. You got to know who you are emotionally. You got to know, you know what I mean? Who you are spiritually. You have to know when it comes to your will and your decision making. You got to know what you bring to the table. Yes, sis, gifts and talents and all of that. You got to know all of that coming in. You got to know yourself. So if you happen to engage with someone who is abusive, or if you happen to or have some tendencies of being narcissistic, or whatever other coin of terms they throw in this day and age of society, right? Uh, when you're dating these people, you'll be able to pick it up a lot quicker when you're secure with who you are as a woman, and you won't buy into the mess, and you'll be able to see through the facade. Why? Because you have a spiritual relationship, you have a strong connection with your heavenly Father. Why? You have the Holy Spirit. Why? You're working on yourself, you've done your self work, you've done your self care. All right, so you'll be able to identify some red flags a lot sooner than someone that doesn't know who they are, that's not acquainted with their likes and dislikes, and so they're just going to go along to get along, and they're going to find themselves in an unhappy situation. So take advantage of your state of being, right? Your singleness, sis. Take advantage of it. Again, whether you are newly single, or whether you are single because you were just young, you know, you're between the ages of 20 and 30. But as you do your due diligence, please don't be careless. And this is what I will say, because there's such a, I want to say, a difference when it comes to the numbers. There's more men available between the ages of 20 and 30 than they are any other age group and beyond. So once you go beyond 30, the numbers begin to dwindle. The statistic numbers begin to get smaller, okay, in terms of available men. And then you also have to consider other factors, right? Because that's in general, across races, across ethnicities, across nationalities. That's just the way it is. And then when you begin to narrow down to people groups and subgroups within that demographic, you have to consider, okay, my preference is this type of man. Maybe he's of a certain race, of a certain ethnicity, right? That's my preference, all right? So within my age group, I like this person, this type of guy. The numbers begin to dwindle, right? And then within that group, right, I prefer a man who is saved. I prefer a God fearing man. Most women in the church prefer a God fearing man. So the numbers, what? They begin to dwindle and dwindle even further. What am I doing? I'm trying to really help us to understand why you're having a hard time being found. I'm trying to help you understand. And this is, you have, and I understand some people in their state of being, their singleness, you're frustrated. You're frustrated because you feel like there aren't any good quality men within your age group. You feel like that the men that you have been, you know, connecting with have been men that don't want to commit. Like I said, you have to look at the age of the man, and you also have to consider his experience. Okay. I know that we're listening and we're tuning in, and I really do appreciate you. Just don't forget to like, comment if you feel inclined, tag a friend, and or share and subscribe. Okay. Now, I will say this. You have to consider not just their age, but you also have to take into consideration, excuse me, their experience. All right. Now, if they're of a certain age, I want to say 40 and beyond, and they've been married before, let me tell you something. And they're still healing from that broken relationship. Because those of us that have been married before and divorced, we know that that process is brutal, that healing process. It takes a minute for us to learn to trust again. And then some people come out of that bitter. you know some people come into that making vows to themselves to not enter into that type of covenant agreement again, because they've trusted the person that they said I do to, that they made a vow with, and obviously something happened, and whether it's all parties or somebody in the relationship didn't adhere to the agreement or to the vows that was made at the altar. And so now we have a person who wants to be in social spaces. They may even want something romantic, but they're not open to settling down. And if they're past, I want to say 40, if they're 40 and beyond, it becomes even more difficult. Because if they've been married before and they've had children, they've been there and done that. Just like we as women, some of us probably have felt the same way. So it's not just a man thing, it's a human thing. I remember after my divorce became final, there were people trying to talk to me. There were people that were interested. Even some people were dropping the "I want to marry you," the M word. You know what I'm saying? They wanted to have kids and stuff. I'm like, pump your brakes. I don't want to be married again. I literally went through a phase right after my divorce in time where I just did not see myself marrying again and having any more children. Okay. So I can understand if I meet someone that is in that space, because the truth of the matter is, it doesn't matter how attractive you look, how you appeal to them on all levels. You may be the perfect partner for them. Until they're open and they're ready for a commitment, they're not going to commit, because they've been bitten. They're definitely twice shy. Okay. They're not going to be so willing. See, when we're younger and we haven't experienced it, we're coming in head first. Like we feel like, oh, it'll work itself out, because that's the mindset of the youth, of the youthful man and the youthful woman. You feel like you're going to live forever. You feel invincible. That's your mindset at the time, at that age and stage in life. So you feel like, oh, I got another chance. Oh, we can just this and this. Oh, it'll be fine. Everything will be perfect. No matter how many red flags you see, no matter how many negative situations you've had with this person, if you've committed in your mind to be with that person, and then you walk into that relationship and it not work out, then you become devastated. But beforehand, you're completely optimistic, because again, some of us just don't want the person, but we also want the marriage. We want the engagement. We want the ring. We want the ceremony. We want to be celebrated, right? We want to be like our girlfriends talking to our sisters. Look at my ring. I don't have a ring on. Ooh, he asked me to marry. We want that experience. We want to, especially in this day and age, we want to record the engagement. Even if they did it in private, let's say, okay, get your camera, let's record it again. Because we want to capture it, and we're competing with the Joneses, sis. No, stop competing. Stop allowing yourself to feel the way you feel because you're watching other people live their life. Though they are married, though they are getting in married, though marriage, or whether they're getting engaged, you don't know the dynamics of that relationship. And that does not mean that they're in a happy and healthy relationship and or it's going to work. All right. So yeah, it looks cool. It's beautiful. You know what I mean? But the goal should not be just to get married as women. The goal should not be just to get a ring. The goal should not be to again compete on the gram. The goal should be to find someone who is compatible and suitable so that you can have a long lasting love relationship. Okay, that is the goal. So it starts with your singleness. As a review, it starts being acquainted with you and getting comfortable in your own skin. It starts with, again, knowing your likes and dislikes, understanding the type of man that would be best for you as a woman. Because when he shows up, you'll be able to identify him. Without you doing your due diligence with self discovery, any man will show up and you'll say, oh, that's the man. Oh, yeah. Ooh, child, that's it. And then the next one that show up, ooh, yeah, he's it. This is it. This is the real deal right here. Because you confused, sis. You said, right, some people regret being married now. Absolutely. Let's be real now. If we knew the truth, really, I mean, if people are now ashamed, if they really told the truth, and that's what I'm here to do, sis. I want to have the conversation because I want to tell the truth. Some of us rush into relationships because we're tired of waiting. It's not that the person, they may have maybe a few things that match with our core values, but if we would wait just a little while longer, the right guy would show up. But instead of us wanting to wait, we look at our age, we have our biological clock that talks to us, then we have social pressures. Then within your church, you may have pressures within your social community for you to get married. We have pressure from our family. When you get married, when you going to settle down, when you going to have kids, right? We have all of these pressures around about, I want to say, the upper 20s, lower 30s. There's this intense pressure of you settling down and getting married. Now, I will say this, the biological clock, I feel like that serves as an important reminder that yes, within your biological system that God has designed, you do have to take that into consideration. And you also have to take into consideration that the way we do life presently was not the way things were originally. People got married way younger and they started families way younger than we do today. The family dynamic structure, it was slightly different than it is today. Multiple generations usually are around each other or living in the same household, so the support can be there. And the one generation, the next generation doesn't have to start from scratch because there's an inheritance from the prior generation. So the way they moved biblically when it comes to relationships, even down to arrangement of marriages and preferences of the type of families to connect with, they stayed within their own people groups and within their tribes and things of that nature. And so it was quite nuanced. So when you try to have a Bible based situation in a modern day era, sometimes it just doesn't work, right? Sometimes it just doesn't fit. But we have to take at least a core foundation that is biblical, and then we have to apply it with the mindset of today. So I'm not saying that you got to do something different, but what I am saying is that you have to take into consideration your natural inclination, which is your biological clock as women. And though you are pursuing goals such as your education, or you're trying to get to a certain level professionally, or whatever the case may be, or maybe you want to own a certain amount of properties, or maybe you want to travel around the world, you still got time to do that, but you have to move with intention, understanding that after a certain amount of time, after a certain stage in life, once you do decide to settle down, if that opportunity is presented, because I'm going to say that because, again, as you grow older, less men are available. If the opportunity is presented, or if all the good men aren't taken, okay, now you're going to be concerned about fertility. Now you're going to be concerned about whether I can have a baby. And I feel bad because sometimes churches and religion interferes with the dating pool and process as well. Some women have such high standards that it's just difficult to settle down at about around a certain age. And then after you've grown past that age, let's say now you're 35 going into your 40s, it's almost a desperateness comes on over you because you see other people getting married, other people settling down, other people, and you're still at this, like, I listened to my leader said that I have to have my standards at a certain level, and all the good ones are not available, and now I don't have very many options. And now I'm in this situation and I'm single and I'm growing older. Again, as we get older, talking about the ages and stages of life, is our body goes through changes. Let's be honest, sis. Our metabolism, some metabolism slow down. And I want to say, in between time, some people may have had a baby or two, you know what I mean? While being single and not married. You may have multiple partners. Your body count may be relatively high in between time, right? You may have multiple baby daddies and stuff. Again, this is where we are. I want to say that, looking back, let's say 40 years ago or whatever, if you did get pregnant, they forced you, coerced you into marrying that father, even if you were shamed into marrying the father of that child, good or bad or indifferent. But I'm just saying that depending on the circumstances, the more you add on to your list of things as you grow older, your pool of availability becomes more narrow. If you got multiple children, if you got multiple baby daddies, if this and this and this and this, you're just adding to your list of things where this person is going to consider before choosing you. Now, again, we know there's a God element, because listen, the fact remains is that my mother got married to my father when she was really young. She was in her early 20s, when my oldest brother, when he was conceived. So they got married when they were in their 20s. Okay. They got a divorce when we were relatively young, and my mother reconnected with a high school sweetheart, and he decided to date her, still knowing that she had 4 children, but we all had the same daddy. She was married, in that situation, but the man still loved her enough to want to be a surrogate, a male figure for our household, and to take on the responsibility for providing and protecting for everything that came along with her. So with that being said, but that, to me, again, it's an exception to the rule. There's not a lot of men out there that are willing to father somebody else's children. Again, these are things that you have to take into consideration. So don't be mad. Again, don't again, we're all playing a game, and we need to understand what it is that we're dealing with. And then you hear conversations in certain spaces that they say a woman's value begins to decline as she grows older, because life happens to her. And women that are between the ages of 20 and 30 are more valuable, especially to men that want a fresh start, that are now figuring out they got to the place that they want to, that they've gotten to economically, socially, business wise, professionally. Now they're looking to settle down. They're not going to more than likely choose someone who has all this extra stuff. They would rather choose someone that has less baggage. Now, and however, that does not mean that if they choose the one with less, that doesn't mean that she's fruitful. It doesn't mean that she can conceive. It doesn't mean, if she's never had any children, doesn't, you don't know. You're taking a gamble. You don't know necessarily if there's other things that are connected to that single woman between the ages of 20 and 30, like mental health related issues, trauma related issues from her past that she hasn't gotten over, or there could be narcissism or some type of selfishness, or whatever the case may be. Or she may feel like, I have a whole lot of options, so I'm not going to settle for you, older guy that decided to wait until now you're in your 40s and 50s. I want someone that is my age. So she may not even be open to dating you, and you may be passing up a good person that you can actually work with, as someone that is suitable and compatible, because she's of a certain age and she got stuff. So I just think that either way you look at it, you're going to have to take a chance. So there's a God factor involved. If you allow God to lead you, regardless of the circumstances, I really do feel like it's going to work out in your favor. But I'm talking to our sisters. Really consider your fertility, because if you happen to be between the ages of 20 and 40, you need to understand that, yes, we are in modern times and technology has advanced, but after 30, between 30 and 40, the risk of pregnancy becomes higher. So don't make a trade-off that you're going to regret. Get to know yourself, know your deal breakers, know who you are, because not all women want children. And some women do. If you're that person where you like, I see myself as being a mom, I know that that is my portion. God has told me, what have you, is for me to be a mother. Then you need to take that into consideration while you're young. All right. And again, you have a lot of time to work with. You just need to be conscientious. You really need to be cognizant of the fact this is how I'm moving. You know what I mean? I'm a single woman. I'm professional. I'm going to date socially because I'm going to get to know myself during this process. I'm going to get to know men. I'm going to figure out maybe who would be suitable for me so that I can recognize Mr. Right when I see him. You're going to continue to enjoy yourself. Dating is for that purpose. So I would never tell anyone. And I think that's when I say religion can hurt us, because you will have leaders tell single women not to do it. They'll just tell them to stay, because they think somehow that's not being single. It is being single. You're still single, you're not married, right? You're still being single, you're still being kept, right? You're still being virtuous, but you're just being social. In this day and age, maybe back in the day when they thought that dating equated sex, right? No, hold your standards. You know, practice celibacy, practice abstinence. You don't have to sleep with everybody that you're on a social experiment with. You don't have to sleep with everybody you're dating. Sex should be off the table. If sex is on the table, then guess what? Your picker definitely is going to be off, because you're going to get, hey sis, I love you. You're going to get all in your emotions, and it's going to be difficult to determine and to really discern whether that man is the man for you. If you have sex prematurely, game over. So I don't care how much you're pressured. That's why you got to get to know yourself. You got to get to know what spots on you that they should not touch. I mean, you need to get to understand, you know what I mean? Not to put yourself in compromising situations. You got to know yourself before you get into these social experiments, into these dating situations, so that you know what? This man only wants sex, and that's not what I'm interested in. That's not that's contrary to my values. This is not going to work. And then enjoy your coffee and keep it moving. Enjoy your dinner and lunch or whatever the case may be, and keep it moving. You know what I mean? You don't have to feel bad, because that's what the process is about. Talking about dating, it's a social experiment. You're gathering data. You don't have to feel bad if that person that you're dating isn't the one. That's why we got to chill. We really got to chill. Like, seriously, stop. Take the pressure off yourself. You know what I mean? Again, I know that after you get a certain age, you get lonely. And then like I said, we've deciphered the difference between being single and alone and being lonely. For those of you all that are wrestling with that, that's something that you need to be honest about. And I would say you have to ask yourself some key questions in terms of why you feel lonely. Are you still wrestling with some trauma from your past? Are you still wrestling with or need healing from your parental story? There's a reason why you feel lonely, because being single is not an indicator of loneliness. It just means you're by yourself. It just means you're singular or soul. That's what it means. All right. So if you are that person, whether you are young or old, it doesn't matter. If you are wrestling with thoughts of loneliness and mental health related issues, then that's where counseling comes in, and that's where coaching, so that they can get to the bottom of why you're feeling that way. Or what is it that's pushing you to wanting to be married so quickly, wanting to jump into the first thing that comes your way, wanting to commit, wanting to get married to the first person that asks you or desire you. What's the motivation behind those desires? You really got to tap into that, because it puts you in a situation where you can be taken advantage of. You know what I mean? You can become prey to someone who can hurt you, and on all levels. And so we don't want that for you. Never have sex on the table, and I mean never, especially when you're in that social experiment stage and you're just dating and the relationship is not defined. I say wait until you're married, but I will say never while you're in the social experimenting stage or you're dating, have sex on the table. And if that person is, again, alluding to that right off the gate, right off the rip, then you got to scratch that person off and be safe, and make sure that you dodge him. Make sure that if you're catching an Uber, again, dating in this dispensation of time is different than dating in the times before. And for those of you all that are newly single, getting back into the dating phase, because you've been married before, or you've been in a long-term relationship, and now it's almost traumatic because dating is so different. You've heard it on social media, them talking about places you can't take women, places men shouldn't take me, men should pay for my, this is the conversation they're having. Men should pay for childcare if I'm gonna go out, because I got my nails done and my hair done and my face and my eyebrows done and my eyelashes done, so he should take care of my childcare if I'm gonna go out on a date. I'm not saying this is the person you're dating or you're in a relationship with. This is a person that you just met that just wants to get to know you. This person again, all of these these high standards, these unrealistic expectations. A lot of people are really just messed up. I have to be honest when it comes to the dating stages where we are in life. But you don't have to fall prey to that, because you're going to take my advice and you're going to get to know yourself, and you're going to have the right kind of standards and expectation so that you can make the right choices. Now, we talked a little bit about ages and stages. I'm going to speed this up because I never intend to be on here this long, but I always end up being on here this long. All right. So we talked about the availability in terms of ages. I want to say after 50, the numbers begin to increase a little bit. Because remember, between 20 and 30, it's a whole bunch of guys available, a whole bunch of guys, more than you can want, asking you out, complimenting you, wanting to snatch you up, wanting to marry you. And then you're gonna hear it's almost like a silent phase where there's not going to be a lot of folks available between 30 and 40, or let's say 35 and 45, right? Then around about 50, let's say 45 and beyond, you're going to start seeing more movement of men say, hey. But that's why I said you have to be careful when it comes to ages and stages, because if these are men saying, hey, and they've never been married before or engaged, I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing. But what I am saying is that you have to do your due diligence. You have to ask the right questions, and you have to observe how he is in a relationship. Because unless there's a legitimate reason for, such as he's been pursuing his career, let's say his career is him wanting to be a medical physician or to have a doctorate, then we know that's years and years of schooling. That's like 15 years of schooling. So from 21 up, that's 30, add 5 years, 35, 40, and then you have all the work that's required. Then that makes sense. You know what I mean? He made some sacrifices when it comes to dating relationships. But he says, oh, but I was in a relationship for maybe a few years that was committed. At least he's shown you, or at least he's telling you, and hopefully it's true. You can make sure that it's the truth, that he's been in some type of committed relationship. But if a person is of a certain age and they've never been in a committed relationship, and or they don't have lofty goals that really tell the story in terms of why they haven't been committed or married before, then that to me is a red flag. You got to look into what's going on with that person, if that person even meets your criteria. Okay. So just saying that to say, don't be surprised as women if younger men are attracted to you if you're like in your 40s. Because again, there are more males available between the ages of 20 and 30. All right. Or 35. All right. So don't be surprised if younger men, because that's another thing that I experienced after becoming divorced. I became divorced. I think I was approaching 40. And then I noticed there were 20-year-olds trying to talk to me. I'm like, you could be my son. Like that's like, no, no, thank you. No, thank you. Because again, I think that it's important. You have to be able to stimulate a person intellectually. You have to be able to stimulate a person emotionally. You know what I mean? In terms of decision making, you have to be able to. That's the soul of the person. And so if there's not a soul connection because there's this age gap, whether it's a whatever end of the spectrum, it can be problematic. And I know there are some people that are just simply doing the social experiment thing. They're just dating just for the sake of being social. Okay, then whatever. But if you're thinking about settling down and you're dating with a purpose, then don't waste your time. You know what I mean? If you know yourself to know this is not going to work, then by all means don't mislead them. You know what I mean? Make them think. I know there was someone that maybe a few years ago, I think he was in his 30s, no children. He was in some serious relationships, and I think he was pursuing law, and I think he was becoming a judge. So, I mean, it made sense, professionally, as to why he never settled down, because he was so focused on his career. And we seem to connect. The only thing is, in the beginning, he asked the question, do you want children? I'm 50 years old. No, no, period. No comma, no semicolon. No. So you got to know what your deal breakers are, sis. You got to know what they are. No. And then he was, oh, that's cool. That's okay. All right. I don't have to. You got kids, right? Yeah. They about grown, but yeah, I do. I still have children, whatever. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Time went on. Well, I was talking to my family and they say that you should at least try to give me one shot. Like, absolutely not. I love him. To this day, we're cool, but no, I told you my truth. No is a complete sentence. And I meant that. I'm not trying to mislead you. You seem like a great person, but no, that's not what I want. And you have to be honest. He has to be honest. You have to be honest. Everyone has to be honest with themselves. All right. Because again, if you're compromising your values, your wants, and you're saying, oh, I'll just settle because I really like her, or I really like him, so I'm gonna try. Okay, let's say we got married. Let's say we started trying, even though I'm in my 50s, and it's possible. It is possible, right? Because Janet Jackson's of this world, but again, it's a different nuance because these are people that are millionaires, right? They have money and resources that some of us just don't have. But anywho, let's say we try, and it just can't happen, or I have miscarriage after miscarriage. And then this person's like, oh, it's cool, it's they're gonna resent me, because if that's what they really truly wanted, and I'm not able to, you see my point. So I'm just saying, everyone has to be honest during this process. So sis, don't lie to yourself, don't lie to him. Be honest with where you are, and your history and all those things. You have to be honest. Now, marriage prep, as women, and this is the last thing, and if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. If you are a person, again, if you're single and you want to be single for the rest of your life, just understand that you can be happy in that space. All right. That status, you can be happy solo, date yourself, enjoy your life, travel, build, achieve, do the thing. All right. It's completely okay to be single. All right. Even in 2024, it is completely fine. It is not a scarlet letter, big old fat S on your forehead. You know, people may not understand it, but that's okay. Marriage is not for everybody. That's the first thing that I will say. Enjoy your singleness. But I will say, don't fake the funk though. All right. If you want something more, if you want marriage, if you want to be in a serious committed relationship, be honest with yourself. Don't play games though. You know what I mean? Don't play games. That's the only thing I would say. Know what it is that you want and be honest and lead with that. Yes, we are dating. It is a social experiment. I'm trying to gather data, but my ultimate goal is a committed relationship. My ultimate goal is marriage. And if that person is on the same page, then they should be able to articulate that. And if they're not articulating that and they're playing games, sis, communication happens, whether it's verbal or whether it's physical, or their actions. They're communicating with you. If you dated them and they haven't texted you, or they haven't called you, and they went weeks on end, and if I haven't heard from them, that means that they're just not interested. All right. Or that just may mean that you're just an option, or it just may mean that they're just not ready for what it is that you're ready for. And they might be serious or interested in you, or the potential to be serious with you, but they're just not ready. It really depends. It can be all of the above. So I know that there's some people in the dating space that say, or the relationship space that say, if he doesn't text you, that means he doesn't care. If he doesn't call you, that means he really, that's not necessarily true, depending on the person. It's person by person base. But I will say that whoever it is that you're connecting with or communicating with, make sure that you hold them to task. Listen, be honest. Where are you? Tell me the truth. You know what I mean? And then you continue on moving forward. Since you are available, you continue your social experience experiments, and you continue again getting to know yourself, getting to know the mind of a man, and enjoying your life. Please don't put your life on hold waiting for somebody. And you may feel like that's the one God said is for me. Continue to live your life. Set goals for yourself, continue to achieve them. All right, now marriage prep. For those of you all that are still waiting and you're still, I'm not saying even waiting to be chosen, because in truth, women, let me empower you. You're not the only person doing the choosing. He's not the only person doing the choosing. You're choosing too. You're making a choice whether you want to be with him, just like he's making a choice whether you want to, whether he wants to be with you. Everybody's choosing. So please be empowered. Be empowered to know that that person is interviewing for a position in your life that is sacred. You got to come in with this mentality. You got to understand that, number one, who you are and what you're bringing to the table and what caliber of woman you are. If you know what you're bringing to the table and you've done your work, you carry yourself with that. But at the same time, if you are in this dating situation, this social experiment, and this man is bringing more out of the femininity out in you, that's a good match. But if your masculine energy is increasing while you're engaging with this person, they're not a good match. All right. So that also is a sign whether that's a good person, if that's your goal, is to settle down into something more long lasting. All right. Marriage prep. Make sure that you prepare your life for transition. All right. So, as a single woman, if you love the travel, make sure that you connect with someone that likes those types of things. If you happen to connect with someone who likes to hibernate, they don't like to go anywhere, then it's going to be problematic if you're a person that likes to go places and travel and explore. And sometimes, opposites attract. Sometimes you can challenge that person and they'll grow to love some of those things that you love. But you have to understand that, again, that's where that God factor comes in. God's going to have to speak to you, because if it is a passion for you and it's like a hobby for you, then that person's got to match your energy at some level, at some point in the relationship. Also, get your money right. Get your money right. A lot of people wait until they wait until the engagement to get their money right. If you know that it's for you to be a bride, it's for you to be married and somebody's wife, then get your coins together, sis. Make sure your credit is up to par, right? Make sure your credit score is good, right? Make sure you have a credit card or two. Make sure you're building. And I know that, there's this conversation of what are you bringing to the table? If you are a helper, you shouldn't be a burden. You know what I mean? So, no, I don't believe in this whole thing of you should bring this and that. What I am saying is that work on you, do your due diligence, and be a help, not a hinder. Amen. Amen. Be a help, not a hinder. Okay, that's what you're designed to be. So make sure that as much as possible, because some of us got some student loan debts that they ain't gonna be paid off no time soon. Okay, they ain't gonna be paid no time soon. But at least, is it hurting your credit score? You know what I mean? What kind of arrangements do you have in terms of payments or whatever? What are you working with? What kind of credit score you have? You know what I mean? That's different. I'm not saying be debt free, because I'm sorry, some things that people put out there in the relationship space are just unreasonable. We are in a debt driven society. So you're not going to come into these. That's rare for you to come into a relationship at a certain age with absolutely no debt, unless you filed for bankruptcy. And then you got to be honest and real about that too. So in your marriage preparation stage, number one, you're going to have to get to the point where you're open and honest about everything that comes with you. You got to be open and honest, and you have to be raw. I like the scripture that says that Adam and Eve were naked and unashamed. Like, they weren't ashamed of just being open, naked physically, and I would like to think mentally and emotionally. They weren't hiding anything, they weren't guarding anything. You have to get to the place as a woman where you are open. And I'm not saying open to anybody and everybody. This is open to your person. Once you transition, you know that's your person. Now y'all about, you're in the process of preparing for marriage. You got to be able to open up about some stuff, that you've experienced, things about yourself, because the Bible says that he should dwell with you according to knowledge. If you're not open or willing to share parts of you that other people don't know about, then you have to question whether that is your person. All right. But you have to get to that point. If it is a problem because of trauma, that's something that you should be working towards. So you are preparing for marriage. You are working on that. And as far as your trauma is concerned, there's certain aspects about your history that person needs to know. Because if you go into that relationship planning to have children and you got some generational stuff that you're still working through, then your children are going to start manifesting with those same issues and those same problems. So yes, there are some things that need to be discussed. There's some things that y'all got to come clean with, you know what I mean, about your past. And so you should be open for that. And you also have to work to the point where you are open to deal with that. All right. And if there's some things that are undealt with when it comes to trauma, whether it's rape or molestation or things of that nature, please, by all means, work on that. That's something that should be at the forefront of your things to do when it comes to your mental and emotional health. You have to work on those traumatic things, because when you bring that into a relationship, it affects the relationship. If you were raped and molested, it will affect the sex. It could be on both spectrum, whether you are highly sexual and or asexual. Okay, it can work either way. So if it hasn't been dealt with and you haven't gotten the counseling and the coaching that you needed to work through those things, then it's going to affect the relationship. So in marriage prep, you're going to deal with those things so that you can get the healing, or at least be cognizant of the fact this is something I'm still working through, and you're open enough where you can share that and articulate that, and that person can support you. Because I don't believe in this notion, and I know in certain relationship spaces they say, oh, there's some things you got to be completely healed from. No, I feel like that there's some people come into your life with the assignment of helping you heal too. You know what I mean? There's a passage in scripture, I think it was Isaac, right? When Isaac's wife came, and it says that she consoled him after the death of his mother. So there are some people that experience some really traumatic things, whether you lost someone or whether something happened to you, where they can enter into your life and help to console you and to bring healing and new life into you, because they have the grace to do that. And so we have to deal with that. So we dealt with money, we dealt with emotional, we're dealing with even mental things, mental health related issues, that too. We dealt with credit, credit score. Make sure you're saving some money. If you're, like I said, if your goal is to be married, and make sure you have enough money to buy a ring for him. Make sure that you have money for your dress. If you want that dream wedding, make sure that you're able to contribute or take care of whatever part that you're responsible for, the type of honeymoon that you want. But most importantly, prepare for life after the ceremony. I think that in this day and age, some people are so into the engagement party. They're into the actual engagement moment, capturing that. They're into the dress and the hair and the shoes, but they're not necessarily into preparing for life after. How are we going to move? Where are we going to live? Where are we going to worship? How are we going to be? When are children going to come in the mix? If we want children at all. So preparing for life after the marriage and having ongoing support, having a support system, systems that will hold our relationship accountable, and also premarital counseling. I do premarital counseling. I'm actually trained Prepare Enrich. It's a great program. It does a couple assessment that is applied, and then counseling that goes along with it. It is an amazing concept. I wish I had it during the time that I was single, because if we would have done it, it would have been like, this person, we're not compatible when it comes to certain things. And I probably would have did something different. Saying all that to say, get the premarital, the right type of counseling before you say I do. That's going to prepare you for life after I do. All right. That's important. All right. So that's pretty much all that I have prepared to share on today. Sis, I just wanted to talk to you to let you know that you're special. And please, by all means, celibacy, Abstinent, please don't give yourself away. If we understood how valuable that was, you only had one shot, this one time, for that thing to be taken from you and for you to give it away. Consider who you gave it away. I'm not talking about that which was taken from you. I'm not talking about violations. I'm talking about choices. That's what I'm talking about. Because I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but what I am trying to do is empower you to understand that what you contain, what you have is valuable. So you should not give it away. So if you happen to do the social experimenting, which I do encourage at dating, date, have fun, but that's not on the table, you know? And if you want to consider, because I know that there's this social pressure in dating, the more money he spends, the more you feel like you have to give in. Mm-mm. Have your own money. Okay. That's why when you have your own, you can come into that dating situation when you're planning something to do. Either y'all can go Dutch, or you can contribute, or you can take care of the tip. But when you have your own, then that takes that social pressure off the table for you even have to deal with that sexual aspect. You know what I mean? So when you have your own and you are self-made, you don't have to worry about that part. You know what I mean? And so again, and we are not gold diggers. No, not women of standard. We don't do that. I'm not saying that money and economics is not a factor. To me, it is a quality because that creates a safe space, that's security, and all women want it. But don't just be with somebody or just date just for the sake of getting meals. You can buy your own food. You know what I'm saying? Don't just date or have these social experiments just so that you can have a free trip. I can fly myself out. He flew me out. You know what I mean? All that whole thing. I can fly myself somewhere. You know what I mean? But can buy my own jewelry. So get to the point in life where those things will no longer be pawns to use, right? To draw you in to get what is the most valuable, which is your cookies. Okay, sis? I'm just saying, listen, no. He's got to earn that. Yeah. He can't taste that milk before he buy the cow. He got to buy the cow before he gets the milk. That's how we have to function. That's the mindset that we need to have, because what's going to happen is, and especially when we understand the mind of a man, especially in this dispensation, because trust me, more people are having conversation in the relationship space than you know. They're being told the faster she gives in, she is not of value, she is not of worth. The faster she gives it up, she is not of value, she is not of worth. That is the narrative that's going on in male spaces and male talk. So I'm trying to say to you that you are of value and you are of worth, and I get it. Sometimes you want to, because that's a side of a woman. We want to show our love, express our love. That's a side of people. Some people love language is that physical touch, and you want that, but not everybody has the enough self-control to be able to just leave it at that. So I get that there are many factors that contribute as to why people engage in sexual promiscuity and sexual acts and things of that nature. But what I am saying is that is your trump card. So you hold on to that. And if that person really values you and they believe that you're the one, then they're going to be willing to wait. And they're going to also do their due diligence to work through that process so that you all can get to the living. You know what I'm saying? You can get to that part where you can share one another and give yourself to each other completely. But that's not something that should be negotiated during a dating phase and a social experiment process, not at all. So while you're waiting, you're learning self control, right? You're dealing with those issues pertaining to sex and whatever that comes along with that. And also, there's a spiritual side. Everybody needs to be building a relationship with their Heavenly Father, because the word says that a threefold cord is not easily broken. Jesus has to be at the center. But if he's not at the center of your life in your singleness, then more than likely it's going to be challenging for him to be the center of that relationship. And some of you all have compromised. You put your spirituality or your relationship with God on the shelf while you pursued after this dude. And then once you get or be in that relationship, you're trying to pick God back up. It just doesn't work, because what you have done is you've made that man your God. So you have to really be careful with just idolizing people, men in particular, idolizing marriage, idolizing the engagement and all that comes with it. We can't have those things at idols. We have to trust God because he knows this. Trust me, God understands more than we know. Trust me. that a marriage is a good thing. It's a God construct. That was his idea, right? And he understands the power in numbers. He said two is better than one. So, if anything, God wants that for you. God wants you to be married. God wants you to be in pairs. He sent them out two by twos. Yeah, even when Noah and the ark, the animals came two by two. Okay. God told Adam that it wasn't good for him to be alone. So, God is clear, concerning our singleness, that at a certain point, you're going to need a partner, a life partner, in order to pursue purpose. So, that's equally important. But we have to make the main thing the main thing. The main thing isn't flesh. The main thing is purpose. And then everything else follows after it. All right. So if we have our mind in order, our processes in order, our thought processes in order, we can get in that dating space and move like a boss. You know what I mean? Again, remember, when you're in that dating space and you're getting to know people, as you get to know these men, I'm talking to my sisters. If this man is not bringing out the femininity in you, then that's not a good partner for you. That's not a good partner for you. I'm sorry. That's not a good partner for you. Not at all. He has to bring out the femininity in you. All right. And that will confirm one of the confirmations. There's so many, one of many that will confirm that he's a good, suitable partner for you. Any questions? Any dating questions? Hey, sis. Any dating questions? All right, I'll give y'all a moment. Give me a question, Willa. You got a question? Cheryl, you got a question? Paula, question. Anybody has a question for me? I know some people have asked, how long would you date someone before considering marriage or saying I do? It depends on the person. It depends on the person, and it depends on the age and stage you are in life. Some of us have our own spaces, at this stage of life, let's say 40, 30, between 30 or 30 and beyond. Most people have their own place. Most people are employed. Um, Most people, again, they have history, meaning that they've been in relationships before and or been married before. So it really, really depends on the person. I'm not a person where I say you have to wait a year, because it depends on the couple's timetable. And it really also depends on how long you know and how well you know the person. If you all have done your work, you got the premarital counseling, you got minister spiritual counseling, you've really done the work and you've collected the data that you needed, it doesn't take all day to make a decision. You said, what does it mean to be feminine? Well, there's a side of us as women that God has given. Okay, so biologically speaking, men have more testosterone, and a woman has more of another chemical in them that causes them to be more emotional. And a man has a chemical in him, which is testosterone, estrogen. Women have estrogen, more estrogen. Now, male and female both have estrogen and testosterone. We as people, we have both of them. Males have more testosterone than women, more of a percentage, and women have more estrogen than men. That's what makes us and feminine. So let's say the tendencies to tap into our emotional space, the way that we show up, the way that we talk, the way that we move. There's a nuance to femininity. So that's when you see other groups, say maybe males that act like women, those tendencies are more labeled feminine, because the way we show up, the softness, the way we talk, the way we move, the way we ask US to a man, that would be labeled as a feminine energy. So let's say if you are dating someone, and not saying he's not controlling or bossy, but he is a person that says what he means and means what he says. He's a provider, he's a protector. That should make you not necessarily tap into that decision making side of you. You'll be more willing to let him lead. You'll be comfortable and safe enough to let him move forward and to protect you and to provide for you, and not dominate him or control him or step on his toes or show him how to do. You know what I mean? Okay, so that answered your question. Yeah. So when you're with the right kind of guy, it should make you feel even more like a woman, you know? It should make you want to fall back and say, okay, okay, I trust him. I trust him. It should make you tap into that emotional, more of that emotional side of you. But when you're with a guy and you feel like you have to be more in your head and you have to make decisions because he's not responsible, or is he showing you aspects of him that makes you feel insecure or not as secure, or that he's a good leader, then you're going to exhibit more masculine energy. And unfortunately, women that are, obviously the head of households, meaning that they don't have a husband or a man in their life and they're raising their children alone, you are operating with in both spaces. You're operating with masculine energy as well as your femininity, probably more masculine than feminine, because you have to make all the decisions. You are the boss, you are the head of the household, you're telling your family what to do, you're making the rules, you're making them adhere to the rules, and etc. So you are tapping into that side of you more, and that's not your fault. You know what I mean? And I think that needs to be understood by men. But a real man, when I say a real man, a man that is for you, will understand that and take that into consideration, that you've been functioning in that space for so long, and he'll give you the grace to transition, because it's going to take time. Can you imagine being by yourself, for a minute, and not being in a serious relationship and or married, and then now you have this male that is coming in to assume the role as the head of household when you've been occupying in that space? It takes some time to transition. So a man that is for you is going to understand that, and he's going to give you the grace by just simply reminding you. You know what I'm saying? Baby, I got this. I know that you used to doing this, that, and the third, but I for real, I got you. And then you are now looking at him and looking for him to demonstrate that he really truly, he's got you, right? So that you can depend on him, and so that you can feel secure, where then you can fall back and you can let him lead. So yeah, that's important, especially for the bosses out there. Shout out to all the leaders, the natural born leaders. There are a lot of women that are naturally born leaders. There are Deborahs amongst us. Some of us are judges, some of us are leaders. But listen, if I'm around the right kind of energy, your girl can fall way back. I listen. I don't want to. I don't want to be the man in the relationship. I want a man that's comfortable being the man in the relationship. I need that. You know what I mean? I can't be telling you what to do like that. That's just not my style. I don't like the micromanagement. Nah, I want him to take the lead, but I also want him to know his limitations. And I also want him to know what my skill set is and what I can bring to the table, and also be okay with me, functioning accordingly, and that sort of thing. Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Because sometimes men, they can mistype you because you are a strong woman. They can mistype you and think that you won't be submissive because you are so strong and you got yourself together and you're running and managing your household and your life well. Some men can mistype you and say, she won't submit, she too bossy, da 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 da. Nah, it's just the way they're showing up. It depends. If they're in a relationship with you, things should shift a lot of bit, not just a little bit, if they're in a relationship with you. Any other questions with the conversation? I just wanted to talk, and I'll do this last thing. If there are no other questions, I'll ask this question. Should a woman pursue a man? No. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care how. Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to find my book. I don't care. I do not care what this world says in terms of the culture. Please do not lead. Please do not seek after men. Please let them lead. Please. All right, where are we? I'm sorry. All right. So here's my book. This should be helpful. I do have a book out on Amazon as well. I know I showed you all my friend's book. The couple, the Canards, they have a book as well, but I do have one. I've had one. I don't even know what date is this. When did I complete this assignment? Shout out to Prophetess Sophia Ruffin. This was actually an assignment. It's 21 pages. I should get this printed. It was published in 2018. Wow. But I have a book also, and I think that it will be helpful for our singles. Just like I said, should we give ourselves away at any given point in time in our dating process? The answer is no. So how do we sustain? I think this book will be helpful. Like I said, it was a blessing to me, and it shares also my story and my journey, as well as some practical tips and tools on how to be celibate. Okay, so that's Celibacy in the City. You'll see my name there, and yes, and the editor, Evangelist Taylor. God bless her. I appreciate her helping us with this task that we had. We actually had an assignment where we had to write an ebook. And I actually had another book that it's a couple of books that I'm working on, and look out for those. But I wasn't quite ready for that. It's a memoir of a preacher's wife. I'm still working on that book, by the way. It's almost done. But I got stuck. I had writer's, block, and not necessarily because I didn't know what to write. I think it got so emotional where I just had to pause for just a moment to try to figure some things out. And so when we got the assignment, I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe I can just focus on this. And I had started a group. It's a group page that I started. That the book is the title of the group page, which is my namesake, the Celibacy in the City. I actually have a group called Celibacy in the City. From time to time, I post things in that group to encourage people like myself that desire to be abstinent and to wait until marriage, and to support you during that journey. So feel free to pick it up when you get an opportunity. All right, so that's all that I got today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate you all support. This was way more longer than I anticipated. Trust me, way more longer. So don't forget to like, make a comment, tag, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is the Dr. Kesha one. Feel free to subscribe there, or the Impacting Mindsets Global channel. You're welcome to subscribe there as well. So that's all that I got. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, you are so welcome. It is my joy. I feel like I'm called to do this. I really do. I've always had a passion for singles. I can remember when I was single in my 20s. I had started a group at my local church that was single. Was this single, save singles, and something? Save singles, something. I forgot. It was SSS. It was save singles something, satisfy, say singles, or something like that. It was a group that I had created when I was in my 20s. This is predates me being married and all of that, but it was more focused on spiritual and just having us hang out and just focus on doing the right thing while we wait. Yeah, so I always have had a passion for singles, and will probably always have a passion for singles, though I am now single. But I do understand, especially looking back, hindsight being 2020, and all the things that I've experienced up until this point, that decision can destroy you. I'm talking about the decision, the person you're choosing to marry. It can really make or break you. Making the wrong choice, it's hard to undo, because when you bring children in the mix and you're dealing with generational curses and things like that, who you choose to marry is more important than any decision that you can possibly make in your life. I'm going to say it again. If you are single and never married, making a decision to marry is the most important decision outside of your salvation with Jesus and accepting Jesus Christ. And when it comes to this world and occupying in this world and being and living, that is the most important decision that you can ever make in your life. Okay. If you make a poor choice, it can affect you for years. It is hard to get over. And some things you'll continue to live out for the rest of your life, especially when you produce children and you begin to see generational curses begin to manifest in those children. because of the connection that you made and the alliance that you made and the covenant that you made with this person. So you have to be careful who you're in covenant with. And like I said, if you take sex out of the way, if you get the eagerness out of the way, and you are sober in your sober minded in your decision making, you're going to choose wisely, and you're going to allow the Lord to help you and to lead you in that decision making process. And I will say again, ladies, you're not waiting to be chosen. You're waiting to make a choice. We're not pick me's. We're not choose me's. We are empowered women that know our worth. Okay. So you have much that you're bringing to the table. And so you are choosing to. You are of value and of worth. And it is the biggest decision that you can ever make in your life. So choose wisely. Surround yourself with wise counsel, even if you have to go outside of your religious circle, because sometimes, even in your religious circle, they can kind of force you or coerce you or encourage you to enter into a poor decision because of, again, the pressures, the cultural pressures, all right, the religious pressures of getting in a relationship, all right? Be careful out there. And for those of you all that have been married before, learn them lessons and be wiser. And don't be afraid to trust and to, trust and live. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. But I will say, you don't want to, you don't want no do-overs. So learn those lessons. You are so welcome. Learn those lessons so that you can move forward in grace, because we only got a certain space left. After you get a certain age, life is life, and we're getting older, and we don't have long to be here. You know what I mean? And the world is changing. So companionship is the way to go, because this world, we gonna need each other. And I would say to the men, don't wait until you get old and fragile to decide to recommit. If you, those of you all that are hurt and wounded and you're healing from past relationships that you entered into unwisely and you suffered the consequences for that, some of them financial. That's why I say some men, especially of a certain age, aren't in a hurry, because a lot of them took a financial hit, you know. They took financial hit, they had to start over, so the bag's not the same. Emotionally, they're bruised because that person was their peace and their safe space, and that person became their enemy. Some of them were abused, physically, emotionally, by women. And so now we're here, they're of a certain age, and we don't have a lot of options. And so we have these broken men, just know your worth, because even with that, it's God's job to do the healing. It's for you to support them as a friend, but don't fall into that trap, you know what I mean, of being a healer. Don't fall into that trap either. That's a whole nother conversation for another day. But I love y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Let me get off of here and enjoy my evening. I'm gonna go date myself. We gonna have a good time. Love y'all until next time. God bless you. You all are in my prayers. All right. Feel free to join us at the 6 a.m. hour. I can't help but to promote the prayer time, honey. We do intercession. Let me share it with you. At the 6 a.m. hour on Saturday mornings, Eastern Standard Time. We have prayer at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesdays. We have our online Bible studies at around 5 o'clock p.m. on Saturdays. Feel free to join us. We are in the book of Exodus. This is my Exodus. I love me some Exodus, child. So you are welcome to join me. And you're also welcome to check out my YouTube channels. I do all things political. I do all kinds of stuff. You all are welcome to go, subscribe to my YouTube channels and to watch and support. I love you too. And I hope I hope you had an amazing birthday, Paula. This was Paula's birthday. And I'm so glad that you were able to come into the live and to stop. I know you're not stopping your celebration. I hope you continue your celebration as you are supporting me. I love you too. Love you to life. All my sisters out there that are watching and listening, all the prayer warriors. Much love to you all. All right. So have a great evening. Until next time, God bless you. And shalom.